The battle for Britain's vaccine stocks has begun by an incompetent, slow-to-act European Union that has vaccinated in total less than the UK.
A month since the end of the Brexit transition period, what role has Brexit played in the UK's head start over the EU around COVID vaccinations? Ros Atkins has been finding out.
The UK's vaccine rollout is going faster than the European Union's. 11% of the UK's population has received at least one dose. In the EU, it's 2%, which raises the question of whether Brexit explains the difference. Well, Die Welt in Germany calls the EU AstraZeneca row the best advertisement for Brexit. And Boris Johnson was asked if he thought Brexit had helped.
We certainly were able to use speed and agility to deliver on the programme that we needed to do.
Whatever the reason for moving early, the pharmaceutical industry is clear. It helped.
AstraZeneca inherited, when they did the deal with Oxford University at the end of April, a coalition of willing companies that were already working on the scale-up challenge.
For its part, the EU, after some deliberation, insisted it would act as one.
We have all agreed, legally binding, that there will be no parallel negotiations, no parallel contracts. So the framework we are all working in is a framework of 27.
Now, by pooling their negotiating power, EU members may have got better prices, but the deal coming later meant vaccines had to be produced more quickly. The commentator Guntram Wolf says the EU didn't react to that. There's an argument, he says, that the EU was slow to develop an industrial strategy to increase production.
Facing a shortfall in vaccine supplies due to the highly technical nature of production, the EU has effectively declared war on Brexit Britain, attempting to seize or rather steal Britain's vaccine stocks due to the fact that Brexit Britain was able to act a good 3 months ahead of the EU in both procurement of orders for hundreds of millions of doses, including Oxford AstraZeneca's vaccines that are at the heart of the EU's vaccine crisis, which Brexit Britain authorised the use of during December, that a slow-to-act EU has only authorised on the 29th of January.
A continuing row between AstraZeneca and the European Union over shortages. Almost 7.5 million people have now had at least one dose of the vaccine in the UK. That's far higher than countries across the EU. The row was sparked when AstraZeneca said it wouldn't be able to deliver all the doses promised to the EU by March. The EU has called for some of the vaccines made in the UK to be diverted and warned it could resort to legal action. The UK's rollout has been one of the best in the world. Israel leads the way. There have been almost 50 doses administered for every 100 people there. The UAE is next with more than 27 doses for every 100 people. The UK has 11 out of every 100, ahead of the US with 7 and well ahead of Italy at 2.6, Germany at 2.4 and France at just 1.7. Our medical editor, Fergus Walsh, reports.
The biggest immunisation drive in the history of the NHS just keeps growing. This supermarket pharmacy near Birmingham started offering COVID jabs today to the over 75s, one of more than 1,400 vaccination sites in England alone. What a contrast in Madrid, where supplies of vaccine have all but dried up. The Spanish capital has cancelled all appointments for around 2 weeks. The EU was slow off the mark in ordering vaccine and now wants some of the UK's supply of AstraZeneca doses. In May, the UK government was the first to sign a deal with AstraZeneca for 100 million doses of its COVID vaccine. It wasn't until August, 3 months later, that the European Union signed an agreement for up to 400 million doses. Last month, the UK's MHRA became the first regulator in the world to approve the Oxford AstraZeneca jab. Tomorrow, the European Medicines Agency is meeting and is expected to approve the vaccine, but for the moment, it remains unlicensed in the EU.
We had assembled our shortlist of vaccines.
The UK is now reaping the benefits of commercial deals struck by the former head of the Vaccines Task Force.
The UK is in a strong position because we recruited a private sector team that knew the industry incredibly well. So we prioritised the vaccine landscape quickly. We approached the various companies and we were then the first to sign with Oxford AstraZeneca, with Pfizer-BioNTech, And then we signed deals in addition with Janssen and Novavax, which we're expecting clinical data shortly.
The AstraZeneca vaccine is grown in bioreactors. I've seen how complex the process is at this site in Oxford. By contrast, there have been poor yields at the main European site in Belgium. The EU is threatening legal action to force AstraZeneca to hand over some doses made here.
We can and will get doses of the vaccine from the series of plants which are mentioned in the contract, and therefore also including those in the United Kingdom.
The latest news is that the EU has implemented export controls on vaccines out of the EU, which means Pfizer vaccines could be stopped from reaching Britain, thus acting to further delay second doses as an incompetent EU attempts to play the blame game, blaming everyone but themselves. What this means is that drug companies will be less willing to deal with the EU, who rather than looking in the mirror at their own incompetence are more than willing to put up smoke screens in attempts to hide the magnitude of their incompetence. As for Britain's current state, are we recovering 3 weeks into lockdown? 29,000 cases per day. It implies an improvement, but what we need to look at is the impact on the healthcare system. That's still a lot of people in hospital, admitted to hospital. 3,000 per day. That's higher than the peak. We're still higher than the peak total in hospital. We're a long way from recovery. It's gonna have to go down to below the November peak. So the lockdown looks set to continue at this rate for at least another 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You'll have to get to below 10,000 per in hospital, and we're currently at around 40,000, 37,000. That's too many. We're a long way. We're probably 5 weeks away from ending a lockdown, so early March at the earliest, when this number is below, well, they might do it earlier, below the November peak, so around below 14,000 in hospital. When that happens, then you can think about lockdown ending. What about vaccinations? We're leading Europe, and we were going around 500,000 per day, but then it dipped. Nothing to do with EU. Now it's starting to creep up again. See, it has a spurt, then falls, there's another spurt, then falls, there's another spurt. We're in another spurt stage, but as you can see, the trend is for higher. Each peak is higher than the one before, so this peak will be over 500,000 doses per day. So Britain is definitely on the road towards vaccinating 15 million by mid-February, which is more than I thought they would. I thought it would be about 8 million. And already Britain's nearly done 8 million. So we're doing good on the vaccine front. In fact, at this rate, we could vaccinate 30 million by the end of March. 30 million, that's 50% of the population. You know, that's all of the over 50s, probably a large chunk of those in the 40s. So Britain is doing good on the vaccines front. On the deaths front, disaster. Look at that. Higher than the first peak. Double bump, and it's coming down slowly. Actual number of deaths is a lot higher than that. Probably 130,000. It's the way they record it, 28 days. You know, actuals probably around 130,000, so it's even worse. So that's another metric they'll use. Main one is hospital beds, second one is daily deaths. So we're a good 5 weeks away from end. What about Sheffield? Where are we? Let's see if you can get local. Well, there we are. 241. That's below average, but you're not in safe territory. Let's zoom in a bit more. Yeah, it's more towards the north, Sheffield, where there's a problem. Southern Sheffield, still 175. It's still high, but nowhere near London. London, you got 800. That's low. 100. We want to be below 100 before you can think about ending the lockdown. But we're getting close. Sheffield is doing a lot better than London. If you go out and look at or Liverpool, go to London. Look at that. 500 cases per 100,000. 400. That's what's going to determine the end of the lockdown. So we're at least 5 weeks away. What about Liverpool and Blackpool? 500, see? That's too high. Blackpool's too high. Basically, number of cases per 100,000 is way too high in major population areas. Sheffield is doing well. 240 is still high. Needs to be under 100. Any under 100, not even. Only the sparse like that. That's where we've got to be. That's what all the cities have got to be. Look, what the hell? 2,200. That's a sparsely populated area. What about Wales? Oh, Wales is recovered. Yeah, they're recovering well. Northern Ireland, oh, that's not doing 400. Anyway, we are about 5 weeks at the earliest away from end of lockdown, so probably early March at the earliest. Sheffield is doing well. I'll give it another 3 weeks and we'll be below 100. That will be below 100 in 3 weeks, and 5 weeks below 20, below 30 at least. You want it to be below 20 to have no lockdown. 40 is the warning sign. Obviously we're at critical levels and hence the lockdown. 240 is too high. 400 is way too high. Meanwhile, the UK response has been to keep calm and carry on vaccinating in the UK.